Looking very coy this evening. Welcome back to Cover Dish, the show where we cook it up and eat it. Yes, Brooke is serving aquarium fish, and I'm serving business fish.
Yes, new business. So Eileen's challenge last week was deliver us new business. So girl, show us the new business. Show us the new business.
Okay, so I've served you a lot of like spinster alien party clown looks on this show. So I thought I would give you a little bit of like take your mommy to work day.
Oh my God, yes.
So I love this outfit. This is actually something new I got recently, and it's an instant favorite. This is something I would actually wear to work, and I feel like this dress to me really says higher ed because it's like primary colors. It's a lot of lines. It kind of like matches the interior. You know what I mean? Like a lot of colleges have like lots of blues and lines and greens and stuff. So I feel like it's sort of matching the interior.
I love it. I love it.
3/4 sleeve because I feel like you can go long sleeve, but then you can't show off the jewelry as much. But also, this will like.
But you know the classrooms are hot, but the hallways are cold.
Exactly. So you need a transitional garment. That's what we're saying. You really need versatility.
A cardigan or a blazer? It really looks nice.
It's a blazer.
It's nice.
The dress also has 3/4 sleeves. So that's the thing about jackets is you really have to match the sleeve length to the under piece, the layers. It's all about layers. It's all about telling a color story and a silhouette story. So, I love a fit and flare shirt dress, girl. I like to bring the vintage into the contemporary.
You really do. Fit and flare shirt dress, also my nickname in college. We love to see it all. We love it.
Fitandflareshirtdress.com.
Business fish. So I am in an $8 bralette / top I bought at Nordstrom Rack at the last minute before a queer bomb I was on.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Show it to us, girl.
And wet style pleather leggings from Lululemon.
Oh my gosh, thirst trap alert. Oh my gosh. Okay, step a little bit to your left. Yeah, there you go. Not clickbait, we promise. We focus on the issues. We focus on the issues on this show.
You know what? Here's the thing. We're talking today about performers. And I think it's really important that if you're dating a performer, you know that oftentimes this is what we go on stage in. And
Correct.
Sometimes this is what we start wearing. And maybe if you're a burlesque performer, which I am not, you will lose clothes.
It's
so
what
I think that's the important reminder. Yeah. It's not that glamorous to date a comedian.
Listen, and people are layers. Like people have layers.
People are
layers. That's a good one. But people have many layers. And performers, it's like amplified. It's even more amplified. So you never know if you're going to get business fish or if you're going to get like Rihanna Fenty runway. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could
or discount TJ Maxx.
It almost reminds me of one of those like memes that's like, get you a girl that can do both. And if it's like, I have complicated feelings about that because it's like, I'm not like the other girls. And it's like, listen, it's not a competition, okay? It's like whole pick me discourse.
Get you a girl who can be manic on stage and off. No,
yeah. My mania is very layered.
It is, yes. We are layers. Eileen Galvin.
We have Sarah Bivick tonight, and Sarah says that dress doubles as camouflage in college offices. You know what? That's really my goal.
You just go against the wall. You feel like Kronk in Emperor's New Groove. Just like...
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Emperor's New Groove, modern classic. Stand by that. Love that movie.
Yeah.
So talk to us, girl. We dish tonight on performers, but one of the things we want to talk about is powerhouse food. So I pass it to you to share what dish you made with us. We're always looking for a good pre-stage meal, and it's complicated because you can't be too full, but if you get hungry on stage and then you have a vodka soda, you're fucked. So what did you make for us tonight?
I made you a very executive meal this evening. No, not really. It is a kale power salad, and I made this the first time that I did a Whole30 back in 2017. And listen,
no memories.
We are not, there's a lot of complicated stuff around diets, and we've discussed that actually in a food issue. So if you want to pop over to the food issue, you can catch our past episodes on our YouTube channel. But so I was doing a Whole30, so I had to cut out a lot of things to try and figure out what sensitivities I had. That's kind of the goal. So you on a Whole30, you can't have grains, processed sugar, dairy, or one other major thing, legumes. And this was one of the legumes. And this is one of the things that I made when I was integrating some things back. So there is quinoa in this. There is black beans in this. So it does have some of those things integrating them back. But it's like very clean. It's a very clean list of ingredients. And whenever I eat this, I feel like my engine is running very clean. Like it kind of, if you want something that's going to make you feel alive and is still vegan, this is definitely the thing to make.
Yes.
It's colorful, so it's very visually exciting. It's a great date food if you want to like throw some stuff together but look impressive. It's great for that. And also, like, as anytime I'm making this, I'm cutting up a lot of fresh ingredients, and I'm like, I'm so fucking healthy right now. So that's kind of fun too, just to kind of like.
All right, well, give us the dish.
All
Let
right.
us see it.
So yeah, let's get into this. I put it in a clear bowl so you can really get the color story.
Oh, wow.
Here she is. It's got spiced sweet potatoes that are rolling down.
Love
there. You
it.
can see. It's got kale and quinoa, which you can sort of see inside there. The base
Yes.
is kale mixed with quinoa, and the kale is mixed with a olive oil, lime juice, and salt mixture. So it coats that. And then it's got this avocado lime sauce, which is just the juice of 2 limes, avocados, salt, and let's see, cilantro and coriander.
Girl,
So it's really good. Oh, and toasted pepitas. There's also toasted pumpkin seeds on it.
what do you do with your kale? Do you massage it to kind of break it down, or do you let the lime do it?
I'm so glad you asked, because this is like my favorite discovery about kale. Because people like their kale slightly differently, right? Normally kale is very tough. It's a little sharp, and it's got more of a crunch to it, you know? And that works for certain applications, but I kind of find it a little unpleasant. So if you're like, I don't like kale because it's too sharp and it's like too crunchy, what you can do is you sprinkle a little salt on it and some warm water, and you massage your kale. So if you want your kale to like chill out a little bit, you just grab handfuls of it and you scrunch it. And you do that for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and it releases more of the green into the water, and the salt will sort of break it down so that it's tender. You're basically wilting the kale.
Yeah. I've been doing that forever, but I never add salt. So that's a good pro tip. Because I
Plus
just
it makes it
massage
taste
the
good.
fuck out of it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This seriously, it's really good for summer too, because the avocado and the lime just makes it really fresh.
Yeah. So what do you spice the sweet potatoes with? How's your meal?
It's so good. The sweet potatoes are salt, cumin, and one other thing. Oh, paprika. Yeah.
Paprika. You put paprika on everything, you tricky minx. Anyways, I love
I
it.
do love
We
a
love to see.
paprika.
Well, that is fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. Why I feel one of the reasons I love this for a pre-show meal is all the different types of carbohydrates and proteins, because you don't really know where your night is going to go. You might end up at Mikey's late night slice at 2 a.m. or you may end up in bed at midnight. And it just gives you a lot of freedom. All the good proteins, all the good fats, all the good carbs, all of them are they're all good. But like those are really, really solid, and they stay with you, because there's nothing worse than you get to intermission and you're next. You're like, oh my gosh, my stomach is growling. Let me have a granola bar from the bottom of my backpack. So
yeah, you know, one thing about being a performer, you either have the nervous peas or the nervous poos. It's one or the other, and in the middle of all of that, you do not want to also be hungry. So
no, the worst.
Yeah. And these days, I'm trying not to have fast food at 2:30, but sometimes, you know, when you have a really good night and you're on that performance high, you never know. So this has the additional benefit. If you're going to do something like that, maybe a little bit less responsible choice before you go to bed, you won't have already eaten something very heavy.
Girl, talk to me. So let's dish on. Thank you for sharing that. Let's dish on performance stuff. We are going to share what our most like ridiculous post-show rituals are, because I think like every performer, no matter what you do, has like this insane energy after. It's a little manic. It's certainly self-involved. and it is best served alone. Like it is not
Yeah.
a dish served at a party. Like you
Oh yeah.
have to use it very carefully. So what do you do post show? Ideal. The show went great. It went flawless. You got tips. You did the things. You did the stuff.
Oh,
You
yeah.
networked. You got another show out of the show. And you're leaving the venue. You've made a bunch of drag kings pack up your car, as you should.
Mhm.
Gender roles, even in the queer community.
Right.
And you get in the car. What are you like looking forward to?
Okay, well, I like to get home and I stay in drag for a little bit. I just like to feel it. You know what I mean? I like to put on a nice satin kimono, get my little tiny dog under my arm and go check the well, you know, put the lotion in the basket and like lower it down to Frederica. I just like to check on her. You know what I mean? Because I am Buffalo Bill, as you know. You know this about me. I like to just wrap the kimono around me and say like, would you fuck me? See, this is the thing. I love to laugh about problematic like media and history because otherwise we just cry. So I still do love that movie because oh god.
Jodie Foster.
Thank you, Jodie Foster, and then who played Hannibal Lecter?
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Thank you, girl, keeping me together.
I'm always here for you, girl.
They're just iconic in it, but the rest of the movie is trash. So
it's trash.
Mm-hmm. So, girl, how about? Well, I guess that wasn't a real answer, but like
that's not a real answer.
But honestly, I do like to go home and just. I don't like to take my makeup off sometimes because I just feel really into it, you know. So sometimes I'll just stay in costume for a little bit and like watch TV or like whatever I need to do to wind down. Yeah. And then it's because it's a whole ritual. Once I've wound down, then I'm ready to sort of like peel the eyelashes off, hang the chiffon, and just like gently pull the covers over my head, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things, like you are someone who really recharges from within. And you are such an extrovert. You're flawless. Living with you, I learned the internal charging you do, right?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that, right? But, you know, for me after a show, while I do need that, you know, it really actually depends on how the show goes, certainly. But, like, I really want to debrief.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I want to debrief, like, with someone I care about, with you, with my partner, with somebody.
Yeah.
Because I just, like, was that real, you know? And it's helpful if I have a video, because then sometimes I'll do that. But honestly, like, watch a Bob's Burgers, oh my God. So my former roommate, Maria, would know these stories. But so I'd come home and I bought those Amy's frozen pizzas, but they're vegan. So I don't know. And there's no fake cheese. So it's like,
oh yeah,
veggie bread. It's just hot veggie bread.
Hot
like
veggie bread. That's hot.
It's gross. And I mean, like, I just was like, look, I think fake cheese is weird. As somebody who doesn't do dairy, like, go team if you like the substitutes. But I'm like, if I want it, I'll just eat it. Like, it's not like
I've had enough
you know,
nutritional yeast to last me forever.
Exactly. They're like, just put some cashew cheese on it. Like, no, it's not the fucking same. Let's just move on. It's fine. But I'm just like, don't give me the replacement. If I really want it, I'll have cheese. So I love these vegan pizzas, but they're just so silly. And I would like make a vegan pizza, like, put on a Bob's and just like veg out and like celebrate in my sweatpants. And it's just like so funny. And when I'm on the road, you know, you're so rarely, again, because I'm not at the comedian at the level who's like headlining from their flying in from LA, but I am at the point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to, you know, be in a hotel probably with someone else. And that's why I love hitting the road. Some amazing headliners, people like Jen Kober, who's awesome. And we have the debrief and we, you know, whatever the vice of choice is, Cheetos or wine or something else or whatever, you know, you just kind of vibe.
That's one of the things I miss the most about living with you is like we would get ready together and then sometimes we would just like get back to the house together on the weekends or like even we were doing different shows, we would just get back to the house. Someone would already have the Bob's queued up. You know what I mean? I'm like, I got Cane's. What did you get? And you're like, I got Cane's too, girl. You know.
Oh my God, we both in the Cane's line at the same time.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that also is like, we then sit there and not talk. Like, right?
Yeah.
Like, we just be like, it's so good to see you.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, I love that we could just talk and then watch and then talk, and it was just like very natural.
Right.
So here's the thing, though, when you live with someone who's not a performer, like when I like I tiptoe in at 2:30 in the morning, and thankfully, like we have, like Monty just gets up and goes to the back bedroom.
Right. Well, you have space.
We
and
have
I
some
think
space.
it's one of those things where like you got to figure that out because first of all, shout out to any performer out there dating another performer. Don't understand it.
Oh, yeah.
Tried it. Not for me. It was not good. But like shouts to you because I can't do it. But I also know, you know, when you're dating a normal person who isn't like, I crave this.
A normie.
You
I think
know,
goths say normie, and I love that.
Yes.
Burlesque performers say muggle, and now like Harry Potter's allegedly canceled. So I mean, no, actually canceled. I don't know. I mean, I still like it. We're not getting into that topic. Sometimes I touch these landmines, and then I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, exactly. Oh,
You're good.
Devin's
but yeah,
in the chat. King Love. Hi, Devin.
Oh, Devin. Yes. We love our kings. We were just talking about kings.
Mm-hmm.
And how fabulous they are carrying our luggage.
Yeah. So I might have missed that. I think it was the comment was from a while ago.
Yes. The we love to see it. Yay, kings. But I think there is this element of, okay, if I'm dating someone, you know, then do you want them at your show? Because this is actually why I wore this. Like, you know, I think there's this element. Now, I have dated fans. Bad choices, just for the record. Bad choices. I made bad choices.
Now that's a topic.
That's a whole. That is my therapy bill.
Right there.
But you know, it's like you have to come to a show and explain to someone like, "Hey, thanks for coming to my show. It's going to be 4 hours. I'll see you in 4 hours."
Oh yeah, like I can't necessarily come out and hang out with you because I need to change. I need to get ready. If you're hosting, you're busy all night.
Oh my God. Hosting is, and Devin knows because Devin's a host. If they're still here, knows hosting is the toughest job in the business.
It really
because
is.
You don't get to turn off ever.
Unsung heroes.
I would have a list of jokes when I was at Wall Street, and I would have like a list. This is a bill. I would have a list. Somebody pay your bills. A list of jokes this long, like the whole line, right? Keywords, right? Just because that's what I use. Keywords. I don't write the full joke out. And every time I left stage after introducing a performer, I cross off jokes.
Yeah.
And at intermission, I'd be out of jokes. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? I thought I had all this material. And you don't. Hosting is so hard. And you got the announcements. You got all the shit. Anyways.
You have to get everyone's names right. I'm terrified. I'm terrified of getting someone's name wrong, their pronouns wrong. Like,
oh my God. When I get someone's pronouns wrong.
It's just like, it's very stressful.
You know, I've only done it. I can count on one hand the number of times someone has told me I've got their pronouns wrong, which I guarantee it's been more than that. Like, I just know, I mean,
yeah,
you know, I'm sure someone didn't.
And being on the other side of that, if a host gets your pronouns wrong, it's like kind of, it throws you off for going on stage. So I know the other side of it. It's like, okay, I need to really make sure that I make the rounds and talk to all the performers and have my shit straight because
Well, and like I've had it happen, and it's not the performer's fault, but if they come late and their drag name is like hyper feminine, and then after they're like, identify as they them, and I'm like, God damn it, like it's not their fault, but like we didn't connect, right? So then I feel even worse, and if they're femme presenting, I make assumptions because I was raised in this world, and it's just really difficult to unravel. So but my fan story, dating a fan, one time Wall Street nightclub, Shouts to Wall Street, home of bad choices.
Rip Wall Street, Illy.
A woman met me when I was off stage, bought me a drink, and I had a great relationship with the bartenders where they would give me fake cocktails. Because everyone wants to send you a drink and nobody really wants to have to deal with you if you've had that many drinks. All right, we can all agree on that. My Aunt Mary, R.I.P., she passed away during the pandemic. One of her favorite things to say to me is, no one likes a drunk woman. And she's 100% right.
Well, then they never met me. And I just go into a Mayless routine.
It was like patriarchal bullshit, but it stayed with me because it's like, yeah, no, everybody loves a tipsy woman. Nobody loves a drunk woman. Person. Anyways, so.
It's good clarification.
Of course, yes. Gender's a myth, so we just know that on the dish. So I get off stage. This woman tries to buy me a drink. And I'm like, yeah, you know, so of course I get the fake whiskey sour or whatever they were making that night for me. That's just like, gross. And
cherry bomb.
They asked me out. Oh my God, yes. And then they asked me out, and I'm like, don't you have a girlfriend? And they're like, I do. And I was like, all right, well, call me when you break up with your girlfriend, and I'll go out with you. That was an intermission, girl. At the end of the show, they were like, I'm single.
Stop it. Oh my God, that's.
It didn't go well.
It's not good. No, that is so very extra.
No.
Dating fans is like, in the trans community, we call them chasers. people who we've talked about this before, people who objectify a specific attribute, like, and usually something that you can't control, but it's kind of the same thing with a performer. It's like, I'm at work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it is still worse for trans people because like that's not something you can change. But
yeah.
But yes, I hear you.
Yeah.
I see the overlap.
there is overlap, and there are some parallels there.
Yes.
Can I tell you a story about it's actually not about me, but I have been watching The Crown lately, which I think we've talked about. And I'm on season 4, which is the Princess Diana season. And so spoiler alert for season 4. There's an episode where they go to the Royal Opera House in 1985 for Charles's birthday, and Diana surprises him with a performance at the end to Uptown Girl. So there's like a special celebrity guest performance, and it's Diana, and he's mortified because he doesn't like sort of these public displays. It's very not royal, you know what I mean, to do that.
Right.
So it's all over the newspapers. There's a standing ovation for Diana, and it's his birthday. So they get into a big fight about it because it's like kind of all about her, which like, I mean, she's fabulous, but also, at least in the fictional universe, true. Like it is kind of about her too.
Right.
I don't know. I can't relate personally, but
yeah, you don't have me so far. You don't have me.
Yeah. So then for their anniversary, they're like trying to patch things up, and he gets her like this beautiful first edition tome that is like the history of her ancestral home. So like he got this gift for him. You know what I mean? And then Diana gets him, he unwraps it and it's this VHS. And she's like, there were all these people watching before, but now it's just you and me. And it's this tape of her on stage in costume singing this opera number, but like she's not classically trained, so it's like just her singing on stage. And there's like an orchestra because they're royals, so it's like the whole nine. And he's just like, you know what I mean? Like he's just trying so hard to enjoy it. And I feel, and then so we're watching this, and Monty just goes, and, and I'm just, it seems like you want to say something. And he's like, this doesn't seem familiar at all. And I'm like, okay, I've never like recorded.
Oh, when have you hired an orchestra?
Yeah.
Very rarely. Twice, max 3 times.
It was one time.
It was Christmas.
Picture it, 1985.
Ha! Girl, that is hilarious. That is
so I
hilarious.
was like, that is kind of like what dating a performer is, because sometimes you
well, to be a performer personality, yeah, you don't need to go on stage, just for the record. Keep going.
Right. I mean, this is something that kind of comes over into other interactions in your life, right? Like being a performer, my Aries rising doesn't just stay on the stage, right?
Right.
To get astrological for a second. But yeah, I mean, it's that communication is really important with your partner, because sometimes I will be like, oh, I was really proud of this, I was really proud of this performance. The show went really great, and I'll talk about it. And sometimes it's like, if you don't know the things that I'm looking for, the response that I'm looking for, then it's just kind of like, oh, I feel like I wasn't appreciated the way that I really wanted to be appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's one of those things where you have to kind of figure out that love language and how it intersects very early, because it's just one of those things I don't know, get.
Not to tell the performer tea, but like performers are kind of crazy, like us included, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
So,
oh my God, yes.
Yeah. So it may surprise you. There are big personalities, and you just have to figure that out with your partner, because there's plenty of things that like that my partner doesn't share with me, but there's things that I don't really share with my partner.
Right.
So like he's really into canning. Like he makes jams and jellies, and it's amazing. And I can recognize the amount of work that goes into it, but I'm not always going to like do justice to the process and the science and the tinkering and the, like it's a whole thing, and he feels very passionately about it. And I might be like, oh yeah, this one tastes really good. And then to him, it's like, you hated it, Right. And that's what can happen for performers if you're not also a performer. You don't understand like the craft necessarily.
Right. Yeah. What is like the one thing you wish you could tell like your young performer self?
Stop. No.
Because we put in the post.
You still can.
We put in the post, there's so many things like, the performers like retire too soon. and then come back.
That's the performer
and,
tea.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, I get it. Like, how many performers did we know in the pandemic were like, this is my time to hang it up? And maybe it was. And now they're finding new creative outlets for that gene, right? That urge, that Aries rising. Oh, precious. You know what I mean? Where is the space that, you know what I mean, that goes? And could you, like, if you could go back in time, like if I could go back in time to my first, oh my God, when I was recording my first album, like, first of all, I would say, do not record that album. You're not ready, girl. You're not ready.
I think it went great. And I remember that night. It was so much fun. And it was like...
It was a fun night.
Yeah. And the audience was so there for it. Like,
yes.
That was the best audience, too.
That was the best reason to go to law school. The people, they showed up. You know what I mean? If for no other reason. Take 6 figures in student debt out so you can fill a room of 30 people for your first album recording. My law school folks really did show up. They were awesome. But, you know, I think it's one of those things where you look back and you say, you know, even the shows that you're like, these are so fun. Mm-hmm. I think reminding myself that those are still part of the craft. And even the shows that, like, you're at the Funny Bone and you're, or whatever, some big club or the Improv, and you got to show up and there's agents. I mean, you know, auditioning for agents and all of that. You just have to say, don't lose the fun in the craft and don't lose the craft in the fun.
Oh, I love that. Oh, we need to put that on something.
Put on a mug, girl. Put on a mug.
Don't lose the fun in the craft. That's really important, because if you're not having fun, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
And don't lose the craft in the fun, in that, like, it takes work and you have to put in the time. So, like, because that's hard for me. Like, sometimes I'm like, I'm really tired. Work is demanding. So I'm just going to throw together a new number in 3 days, because sometimes that's all you have, right? If it's not your full time.
Right.
And also that's okay. I just want to validate for everybody here, like, that is completely, like, acceptable to do,
right?
Because we're all busy people and we just survived a global pandemic. But also, if you want to continue to improve, you gotta network, you gotta do your research, you gotta learn your history. That's like, it takes work. So,
and I think it's like, especially with, I will say actually for both of us, you know, especially for me with comedy, and I'd love to hear about your view in burlesque. What we say on stage is a reflection of ourselves. So, like, that joke you think, like, might be okay, you also have to think through, not cancel culture and all that bullshit, but is this who I want to represent myself? Mm. Like, I have all these jokes about a time this trans dude in Austin, Texas, dragged me to a strip club. It was a hilariously terrible, ridiculous night. But, like, I think about the venues I'm at, and sometimes I don't tell that story.
Yeah, yep.
Not because I'm pro sex work and I'm pro all these things, but I also want to make sure, like, what is my venue? And I think the same thing with burlesque, you know, what message are you sending with your number? If you're just going to kind of do a classic, like, let me be loved by you, that's a choice. It's not the default. You know, there's so many directions you can go with, and it's a reflection of yourself. So if when I showed up at one of the first open mics here in South Florida, in Miami, this guy I met, he was like, I'm new too. And I was like, great. You know, and he's like, do you want to sit together? And I was like, great, we're going to sit together. And he got up and did like 5 straight minutes of, like, my wife won't suck my dick. And I beg her, you know, she does
5 excruciating minutes.
5, and just like all about that topic.
Yeah. Oh.
And he came back and sat down, and I was like, you know, the audience hated it. And he's like, oh, that was rough. That was rough. I was like, oh, you're fine. I get up and do my 5. I come back. He stands up and leaves the club. And frankly, this venue, I'm waiting for my thinking now. No, I'm just kidding. And but it wasn't his venue. It's a gay ass theater, Villain Theater. It's absolutely awesome. Shouts to the Villain Theater.
Yeah.
They're wonderful. They're celebrating their 6-year anniversary this weekend. So please come out if you're in Miami. But, like, he felt, and it wasn't just me, like, everyone before me, everyone before him, it was like, oh, this isn't for me. This isn't my place. This isn't where I belong. There's a million places he does belong, by the way, in comedy.
Yep.
So, like, but it was this incredible moment of, like, self-culling. Like, it was just like, he's like, oh, I'm out. Like, you know, and it's just like, you know, what we say on stage does kind of represent who we are. And there is a little bit of a responsibility there. And that's the other piece I would probably tell my younger self. So when you're younger, you're just like, I'm going to just throw it to the wall and see what sticks, you know? And there is a little bit of a responsibility there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a really good way to phrase it, and it's so difficult to get it right. It's a tough balance. If you're only performing for yourself, you can't be surprised when the audience doesn't respond, right? Because
Yeah.
we, in our day-to-day life, we attenuate ourselves and our communication style for the situation we're in, and performing is no different. And I
Right.
think I want to tread lightly, but there's a lot of straight men in comedy, and when you're approaching your art form and your communication generally from a position of privilege, I think that the making thoughtful choices is sometimes an afterthought, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to tell the comedy that
Right.
I like. And comedy is also an art form that relies on some amount of shock value if that's your style. So I
Right.
think there's a lot of performers who will do something that they think is going to get a response, but they don't fully think through what kind of response it's going to be and whether they're going to get the audience closer to their side or like
Right.
alienate them. And
I think
burlesque can be that way too. I mean, you definitely want
For
to
sure.
bring the act that the venue is looking for. I mean, do if I do queer spaces, primarily queer spaces, it opens me up to being able to do a lot more things because I have a lot of queer subject matter. Surprise! Like, who would have ever guessed that? If I'm doing straight venues, it depends on what kind of message I want to send with the act, and sometimes I'll change things about the act. Just like I'm sure you'll tell jokes in a different way depending on the venue or the event. So yeah,
I think
absolutely that's an important part of the nuance in to me I think it's the difference between a good performer and a great performer.
Yeah. And I think it's like, there's some nights I leave the stage and I'm like, they may have laughed and they also learned something about like transitioning, or they learned something about civil rights in their state, or something. And I'm like, oh
or
my
even
God.
fisting. One of my favorite jokes that you do is because people, it's like the perfect combination of like outrageous and funny, but also you're like literally doing sexual education on stage. And the absurdity of doing both of those things at the same time is really funny
Right.
to me.
Oh yeah, it's great. And there's no sex education in this country, so I'll never be out of a job. This has been a blast, girl. We can talk about this
Yes.
all night. So I want to give
Mhm.
you the challenge for next week, which I love that we've just grown into this. And it's a word.
When do I
you
get to
said.
challenge you?
Girl, I've challenged myself trying to get in this top. Your challenge next week is a word you said tonight on the dish.
Oh, okay.
And that word is silhouette.
Ooh, silhouette. I love that.
So take that where you want to go.
That could be any outfit, but you know,
but
you know me. I will rise to the challenge.
Girl, I know you will. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us at Covered Dish on Instagram. Follow our page here and like it on Facebook. And we love to hear from you. Message us if you have show ideas, if you want to see Eileen eat kale on her OnlyFans, whatever you're into, keep us posted. We love you all. Thank you so much.
All right. It's time for us to go, but we'll be back next week. So not to mother you, but make sure you drink water and get plenty of sleep. And with that, we'll see you next Tuesday for Covered Dish. Bye.